Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a high-level meeting in New Delhi. Top government sources say New Delhi will treat future acts of terror as an act of war against India and accordingly respond. India eliminates 5 Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists as part of Operation Sindoor. 2 brothers-in-law of the mastermind of the 2001 attack on India's parliament among those killed. Calibrated and swift Indian response to Pakistan's misadventure. India hits 6 Pakistani air bases using precision weapons, targets radar site, weapons facility and command and control center. India foils Pakistan's bid to target military locations, slams Islamabad for targeting civilian infrastructure such as schools and medical centers. And Ministry of External Affairs demolishes Pakistan's lies and propaganda, condemns Pakistan's bid to sow communal discord in India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today chaired a high-level meeting with Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, NSA Ajit Doval, Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan and the 3 service chiefs at his residence in New Delhi. The meeting took place following India's strikes at air bases in Pakistan in the early hours of Saturday in reply to Pakistan's strike at Indian locations. According to government sources, India has decided that any future act of terror will be considered an act of war against India and will be accordingly responded to. Right, joining me for more on these developing stories is my colleague Akshay Dongre. Akshay, tell us more about this high-level meeting that took place in New Delhi.
We hosted this meeting, Ramesh, and it was attended by the entire ecosystem as far as our defence network is concerned. That included the Defence Minister himself, the National Security Advisor, and the CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff, along with the Chief of the Army Staff, the Navy Chief, as well as the Chief of Air Force. All of them at the same place, at the same time, discussing the strategy, not only of the actions that have been taken, but the strategy ahead. Today, during the press conference of the Ministry of Defence, it was told that Pakistan is moving for escalatory measures, which means that Pakistani military has been observed that they are moving their troops to forward areas, which can be quite dangerous and escalatory. Despite a lot of humiliation, a lot of embarrassment around the world after India has pulverized many of their air bases. They have hit Pakistani army where it hurts the most, especially when you talk about the Punjab province and the air bases there, the military bases there. When they were hit, Pakistan is rattled now, and it seems that it is now taking the entire country towards the direction of a full-blown war. India has been maintaining from the very beginning that our responses are only going to be proportionate. They are not going to be escalatory. They are not going to be targeting civilians. And despite Pakistan's attempts again and again to target civilians, not only in the state of Jammu and Kashmir but across the international border, India still is maintaining its word as far as retaliatory strikes are concerned to be in a proportionate manner. However, to discuss the strategies ahead and to discuss how to deal with Pakistan, be it the military or the civil government, the entire government should be in sync. They should be working in synergy, and that meeting, in fact,
Right.
was rather that meeting was enough to give nightmares to the Pakistani establishment, with the entire government, especially the chiefs of the three wings of the armed forces, being there in front of the Prime Minister, discussing the strategy and taking directives and giving suggestions. The entire government, as well as the armed forces, remain united. They are more united than ever as far as these measures by Pakistan are concerned, to bring fragments into the society. The entire country standing together as one, and the meeting that has been conducted by the Prime Minister also to monitor the situation as far as the line of control is concerned, the international border, where every evening Pakistan launches strikes through drones and missiles, and also to strategize on how to ensure supplies of armaments, supplies of every kind of equipment that is required to continue with these kind of proportionate measures that India is taking to ensure that the country remains safe, and the people of the country also feel safe.
Akshay, stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily if time permits. Let me bring in my colleague Nandita Dagar also on this special broadcast. Nandita, we've heard from top government sources who are saying that India will treat any future act of terror as an act of war against India and respond accordingly. Put that into context for our viewers who might be joining us from around the world.
Yes, in the wake of the very heinous terrorist attack on 22 innocent civilian tourists in Pahalgam in J&K, in the Union Territory of J&K on 22nd of April, and the blood of Indians was boiling, and this seemed to be the last nail in the coffin, Ramesh, over a history of more than 75 years when Pakistan's stated policy of bleeding India with 1,000 cuts through its arming, funding, training, supporting and actually sheltering terrorists has actually caused several terrorist attacks and incidents in India in its checkered history of more than 75 years. And this actually was a red line that was crossed, and not just India, even the world stood in solidarity with India, Ramesh, condemning this heinous act of terror and actually supporting India's right to defend itself. India, when it's launched its deterrent and preemptive strikes on 7th of May, since then for the past 3 days, we have been actually, our air defense systems have been engaging, neutralizing, detecting, engaging and neutralizing these Pakistani loitering munitions, unmanned aerial vehicles all across. And as the Foreign Ministry and the Defense Ministry briefing made it clear today, Ramesh, that 26 locations in the country, starting from Srinagar all along the LOC, from Baramulla, Kupwara, Poonch, Mender, in the border areas of Punjab, Fazilka, in Amritsar, there were actually Pakistan targeted civilian infrastructure. In fact, at 5 o'clock in the morning, there was damage to a residential building in Fazilka. Also, Pakistan intruded into India's airspace with these munitions and drones. And at around 5 a.m. today morning, India Standard Time, India's Army air defense came into play. This multi-layered grid, Ramesh, which consists of command and control systems which are very sophisticated and integrated in a very, very state-of-the-art manner with electro-optic sensors and ground-based radars. They downed these Pakistani kamikaze drones. Actually, they are known as the biker drones, and they were downed. In fact, had they not been neutralized or rendered ineffective by our army air defense gunners, then they would have caused significant damage to the residential properties in Amritsar. And to that, the Pakistan to also spreading misinformation through its propaganda machinery. People by saying that India has targeted its own people. In fact, it was Pakistan which was trying to target Amritsar. And so these kind of things are happening.
Indeed.
One minor point I wanted to make, Ramesh, is that why did India cause significant damage to these 5 air bases in Pakistan? Because you see, because of for the past 3 nights, India has not resorted to any escalatory measure. It is only defending itself by neutralizing targets. It is Pakistan which was escalating, and Pakistan was actually testing India's preparedness, the efficacy of its air defense systems, and carrying out reconnaissance. And now it was time to take the battle to the enemy.
Right.
These are the places from where these armed kamikaze drones were launched. For example, this base, which is Murid, is a hub of Pakistani reconnaissance drones. And there are other, for example, the Chaklala base, which is now known as Noor Khan, its runway has been completely demolished, and and has been rendered ineffective. So for us, we have taken the battle now to the enemy, actually to his home.
Indeed.
So we are not
Indeed.
A red line has been crossed. And yes, Ramesh ji.
Right. If I can go back one more time to you, Akshay, on this broadcast. Akshay, news also coming in, and we've been talking about that on DD India News Hour for the last several hours now. India eliminating 5 terrorists, 2 from the Lashkar-e-Taiba and 3 from the Jaish-e-Mohammed, including, we are told, 2 brothers-in-law of Maulana Masood Azhar, the mastermind of the 2001 attack on India's parliament.
Well, Maulana Masood Azhar remains a very key figure as far as the ecosystem, the terror ecosystem of Pakistan is concerned. He is a very prominent figure even for the Pakistani military, because he has been training and inducting all of these young boys, and then brainwashing them and turning them into in a way brain dead zombies who will go and attack anywhere, who will even kill themselves by becoming fidaeens or suicide attackers. India had Masood Azhar on target for a long time. India has been asking Pakistan to act against Masood Azhar. However, there has been no action against Masood Azhar. Every time there used to be some kind of observation on Pakistan, including the review meetings of the FATF to bring Pakistan out of the grey list. They used to take some action against Masood Azhar, and once that observation used to shift the other way, Pakistan used to once again give him not only a welcome of a hero, but also funding and everything that he required to run his terror hubs. In that attack, yes, 2 known global terrorists have been eliminated. Those were also from his outfit, and it's a pity that Masood Azhar himself was not there. Otherwise, he was also on the target of the Indian Armed Forces when they acted against the terror factories that were not only killing civilians in Jammu and Kashmir, but also across. They have been planning these attacks across India. And coming to the point of Nandita, once again, that you had questioned about the government of India's decision of terming every act of terror as an act of war. This was a time of need. It is a deterrent policy. It is a policy which the government has finally come to terms with, that any action that will be taken against integrity and sovereignty of the country or threats the civilian population will be an act of war, like it is. So you cannot come up with the policy of death by 1,000 cuts that Pakistan has been proudly repeating again and again for the past several decades, that even if their armed forces are not adequate enough to fight a conventional war, they will launch an unconventional war by sending infiltrators and by sending terrorists who are trained in modern warfare. So India has made it very clear that if any linkage is made once again with an act of terror to Pakistan, it will be considered an act of war and will be responded to accordingly, like India is doing right now.
Indeed, the message from New Delhi this afternoon is very clear. Enough is enough. India's patience is not inexhaustible, and that any future act of terror will be seen and considered as an act of war against India, and India will respond accordingly. Let me thank both my colleagues, Akshay Dongre and Nandita Dagar, for joining us. We'll come back to you in a bit, Nandita.
Ramesh, if I could.
All right. Moving on, Ministry of External Affairs held first special briefing of the day on Operation Sindoor this morning. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri along with Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyumika Singh briefed the media persons, where the Secretary said that Pakistan's actions over the last few days are being seen as provocative and escalatory.
It is Pakistani actions that have constituted provocation and escalation. In response, and I repeat, in response, India has defended and reacted in a responsible and measured fashion to these provocations and these escalations by the Pakistani side. Earlier this morning, we saw a repeat of this escalatory and provocative pattern.
The Foreign Secretary said that Pakistan's claims about attacking and destroying certain Indian military installations are completely false.
Pakistani claims about activities that they have undertaken continue to be heavy on lies, misinformation and propaganda. And on top of that, this is peddled by Pakistani state agencies. The claims that they have made about attacking and destroying various places, various military installations and facilities, as has been pointed out by my colleagues here this morning, are completely false. The claim about the Air Force station in Sirsa being destroyed, completely false, as you've seen. The claim about the Air Force station in Suratgarh being destroyed, completely false again, as you have seen. There's a claim that has been made that the S-400 base at Adampur was destroyed, completely false once again. Claims have been made about large sections of Indian critical infrastructure, power systems, cyber systems, etc. being attacked and destroyed, completely false.
The Foreign Secretary said that Pakistan has made a completely ludicrous claim that Indian missiles hit Afghanistan.
Yet again, completely ludicrous claim that Indian missiles have hit Afghanistan. Totally frivolous allegation, and I only want to point out that Afghan people don't need to be reminded about which country it is that has on multiple occasions in just the last 1.5 years targeted civilian populations and civilian infrastructure in Afghanistan.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with India's External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar. In a tweet, Minister Jaishankar stressed that India's approach has always been measured and responsible and remains so. Right, joining us for more on this continuous coverage is Mr. Shekhar Iyer, veteran journalist, and also joining me is my colleague Nandita Daga, who tracks the Defence Ministry for us. Nandita, to you first, you have an update for us?
Yes, you came back to me at a very opportune time, Ramesh, because following these sound bites of our Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vikram Misri, who's been absolutely debunking these propaganda and fake narratives, fake news of the being disseminated by the Pakistanis, I wanted to tell our viewers that DD India and DD News broke this news today morning at around 11 a.m. that the Defence Ministry and our Foreign Ministry will be holding another joint briefing today after the briefing that was held at 10:30 in the morning today, because it is a developing situation, and it turns out that yes, today there is going to be another briefing of the joint briefing of the Defence Ministry and External Affairs Ministry, so you know where you can get authentic news, and not fall prey to false propaganda by social media, which is being disseminated by Pakistani Twitter handles, etc., and follow only authentic and verified channels such as DD India, which broadcast authentic, verified news to the world. Also, one minor point, Ramesh, this is when India, I wanted to make that point, which I could not in my earlier chat with you, was that India has always exercised restraint in the first 3 days, the night of 7th, the night of 8th, intervening night of 8th and 9th, India did not target any military infrastructure of Pakistan. It was Pakistan which was trying to target military infrastructure, and also hospitals and schools in places like Avantipura and Srinagar, which is a very cowardly act against the Geneva Conventions and the general principles and rules of engagement. So it is only now that India has targeted these 5 military bases also as an act of defense, and that too without crossing, with our very precise air-launched weapons, without causing any collateral damage to civilian areas in Pakistan. So you can just imagine the difference between a rogue state Pakistan and a rising superpower, responsible, sovereign, self-respecting nation such as India. Ramesh?
Indeed, just to reiterate what Nandita was reporting there, one, we are standing by for a briefing by Ministry of External Affairs and Defence that will be taking place in about 10 minutes from now. And also, like Nandita was mentioning, stay tuned to DD India for authoritative and authentic information related to Operation Sindoor and related activities. Nandita, thank you for now. We'll come back to you for more as we go along. But for now, let me turn my attention to our guest, Mr. Shekhar Iyer. Mr. Iyer, Indian government sources telling us very categorically, very clearly that any act of terror going forward shall be treated as an act of war against India, and India will respond accordingly. Your thoughts on this clear warning, as it were, to Pakistan?
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. This is a very, very forceful assertions of India's policy towards terrorism. Well, we always believed that terrorism is the scourge of the humanity, and we have been victims of terrorism for so many years. We have done our best to eradicate terrorism on our soil, and we have been impressing upon those countries that are thinking and believing in terrorism as a state policy. But enough is enough. That's a message coming now. And after what happened in Pahalgam on April 22nd and subsequent developments, we see a country that is engaged in more in optics, more of bluff and bluster, and is led by an army which is totally unprofessional, uncaring for its own people, exposing its own nature of the leadership it is today riddled with. Therefore, India's policy declaration that is coming across now, that any act of terrorism will be declared as an act of war, which means this is a very, very strong warning to Pakistan in particular, and also I believe it is also to those forces who are operating out of Pakistan and outside Pakistan.
Indeed.
And they may include some misguided governments and countries who are trying to assist Pakistan at this juncture. In the sense, this is going to have a very, very deep effect. We are not mentioning any country, but you would remember and recall during today's morning briefing, it was pointed out that some of the drones that have fallen, that were brought down by us, belong to or of a Turkish origin. So therefore, any country, any party, any force that is aiding this nonsense that our neighbor has been trying to thrust upon us will realize that this is going to come with huge, huge cost. This is not a kind of a warning, but to make everyone realize that today Pakistan stands as a country that encourages terrorism, not just across our border, but world over. There is, you can say, no major act of terrorism does not have a link to Pakistan. So therefore, I think this is a policy, clear enunciation, and we must say with pride, our military, our armed forces have been acting wholesomely with a lot of professionalism, with a lot of pride, and you can see how much care has been taken in the last 4 days to see that there are no civilian targets, that no hospital, no places of worship, nothing is harmed, other than the military assets, that too because they have been targeting our military assets, and we have been making it very clear. We are not escalating, but if it means that Pakistan will continue to provoke us, they will be replied with more than equal measure.
Absolutely. Mr. Iyer, you referred to Pakistan and its army. Let me take a moment to impress upon our viewers joining us from around the world that this is a country that did not even accept its own dead. Soldiers in particular, number one. Number two, this is a country and government and army that did not shy away from using civilian aircraft as a shield while attacking India or attempting to attack India using drones and missiles. And this is a country that now is targeting, as you mentioned, Mr. Iyer, a short while ago, is attempting to sow communal discord in India in its bid to target places of worship, including those belonging to Hindus, Christians and Sikhs. Your thoughts on this devious design on the part of the Pakistani army and its army chief, General Asim Munir in particular?
Mr. Ramesh, even that first act of terror, I mean in April, that is on April 22nd, segregating tourists on the basis of religion and then trying to verify whether they actually belong, whether they were Hindus, and then killing them in cold blood right in front of the families, and then even telling those women who were pleading for their lives, telling them to go and tell Prime Minister Modi. You know, this kind of brutal action shows that this kind of forces are being encouraged by Pakistani military leadership that believes more in optics than in substance, and absolutely unprofessional force. Well, this is not a new thing for us. We saw during the Operation Searchlight in East Pakistan, which finally led to the creation of Bangladesh in 1971. Today we are also seeing the kind of atrocities that are being heaped on the people of Balochistan in the name of fighting so-called terrorism in Balochistan. And here, you know, what we have seen in the last 3-4 days, instead of, you know, understanding the gravity in which India is sending across the message that we wanted to pull down the terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan, which we did successfully, in using precision, using such technology which does not cause any other collateral damage of men, women, children, or of other buildings other than where we believe there are, you know, terror factories. Whereas what we are seeing from that side, they are being trying to provoke a kind of a war which they feel, if it's a short war, they can probably claim victory. And all along, there has been so much of bluff and bluster, Mr. Ramesh. They have been putting out all kinds of information, misinformation, half information, and claiming that, you know, India has lost a number of aircraft, a number of people, and which is not true at all. And I must give credit to the PIB fact check of the Government of India, which has been working overtime 24/7, bringing out facts, bringing out data, bringing out visual proof as to what is the situation. Even take, for instance, today's claim that the Sirsa Air Force Station had been completely damaged. Within few minutes, right in the morning press conference, we saw officers showing us the actual reality in Sirsa, which is not far from here. And also, you know, they are claiming that, you know, we have used very sophisticated weapons to pull down their cheap missiles. But that's not true. We have been engaging kinetic and non-kinetic methods. I think we need to tell our viewers what exactly are the non-kinetic methods to bring down these drones and missiles. Well, non-kinetic means you don't shoot them down, but rather you interfere with the communication signals which are embedded in the drones. Therefore, a lot of the drones just come crashing down without even our forces need to fire a missile to counter them. Of course, kinetic approach is one where we actually go and intercept them before they reach our borders or enter our country. So what must be appreciated, Mr. Ramesh, is, you know, we have been preparing for this kind of situation over a decade. That's why we have seen upgradation in technology, upgradation in the kind of men and women who are leading our forces today. And it's a matter of pride that today, if we can go to bed without a worry, that's largely because what the government has done, how our armed forces are prepared, and this war will definitely come to an end, and we know who will win.
Talking about the government and armed forces in India, Mr. Iyer, we saw Prime Minister Modi call for an all-party meeting, which was chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh a few days ago. Talk to us a bit, if you will, about the political consensus cutting across party lines in India right now as we speak. You think every Indian is standing firmly behind the Indian armed forces in their response to avenge the Pahalgam attack and Operation Sindoor as well?
Mr. Ramesh, without a doubt, the first time we are seeing that political parties, irrespective of their antipathy towards the Prime Minister or the ruling combination, they have realized the popular feeling, the popular mood in the country today is Pakistan's act of terrorism must come to an end, no matter what it takes. That's why you are seeing huge people coming out on the streets. Take, for instance, what happened in Chandigarh today. Young people coming out and saying they were willing to offer the services, willing to do anything. That's the mood of the youth. That's the mood of the people. And therefore, political parties realize this is not the moment for politics. This is not a moment for scoring any brownie points. Rather, this is the time to be united. And compared to 2019, when Balakot happened, which was a response to the bombing of vehicle carrying our CRPF personnel, that time these very parties were even asking for proof. Today, Pakistan is offering the proof of the success of our operations. I mean, it is Pakistan that is coming out saying, look what has happened here, what has been done to us. So that shows that, we are, responding to it in a matured way, not just the government or the ruling party members, but across the political lines, we can see, and also many parties, many governments have taken out rally in their capitals as a show of strength, as a way of, giving support to our armed forces who are working day and night. You can imagine every man and women in the uniform, the kind of work they are doing, awesome work, Ramesh.
Mr. Iyer, thank you for joining us and putting the India-Pakistan tensions in their proper context for our viewers, be they joining us from around the world, and also sharing your insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Now, moving on, according to sources, in the early hours of Saturday, 10th of May, at approximately 0500 hours, Pakistani forces launched multiple drones across the international border towards Amritsar in Punjab in a blatant attempt to strike densely populated residential areas. Reportedly, due to Indian Army's air defense network's vigilance and rapid response, the hostile drones were detected, tracked and engaged within seconds of breaching the Indian airspace. According to sources, using quick reaction air defense guns positioned in depth along the border belt, the AAD gunners brought down the drones mid-air, ensuring that no debris fell on civilian property and that no casualties were sustained. Initial analysis indicates that the drones carried high explosive payloads intended to inflict maximum damage on innocent civilians, a fresh low in Pakistan's ongoing escalation. The prompt neutralization of this threat underscores the effectiveness of India's layered air defense grid, which integrates ground-based radars, electro-optical sensors and automated command and control systems. A missile-shaped object reportedly fell in Isarwal village of Punjab's Jalandhar district. The villagers said that early in the morning they were alerted about something falling in the area. Upon inspection, they discovered a drone-like object measuring around 2 feet. The villagers said Indian forces had successfully neutralized the object and expressed pride in their swift action. Drone debris has also been recovered from Nowshera area of Jammu and Kashmir. Wreckage of Turkish kamikaze drone shot down by Indian armed forces was recovered from a village in Nowshera area. These drones are designed to explode on impact. All right, let me get you some more updates from around the country. Laksha Arya joins us from Jaisalmer and Gurmeet Singh is in Amritsar. Laksha, to you first. Would you have an update about the situation where you are?
So I'm right in Jaisalmer. The situation right in the Bardme and Jaisalmer are quite normal now. The police is doing regular patrolling. The markets has been shut down as per the advisory and as per the action taken right in the morning. So you can see behind me the market is shut down. The people are quite supporting and seems to with the advisory and with the administration. The people shut down the market and the blackout, the regulation about the blackout will be continuing even today as well. Respective to the preparedness about the situation, the health department of Rajasthan is seeming to be quite prepared regarding the situation. The deployment of more resident doctors in the district border has been done by the health department. Apart from that, 336 resident doctors, let me tell you, has been deployed in the border districts, as well as some of the checkouts has been done regarding the blood bank, regarding the availability of oxygen and more of the medicines right in the border districts. Also, some trains, from the Jaisalmer and that run through the Jaisalmer or the border district has been cancelled. Let me tell you the trains which has been cancelled as per the latest Jaisalmer Bandra terminus train number 22932 as well as 20491 Jaisalmer Sabarmati Express has been cancelled till latest update. So till the latest notice and till the next update, the train has been cancelled. Also, the 5 airports of the border districts, including the Jaisalmer, Bardmer and the Jodhpur, have been suspended. The regular operation of these airports has been suspended till the further notice. Also, we can see right here the people are maintaining the advisory. They are following the advisory. Also, regularly the people are being advised to not trust on any fake news, any misleading news or any misinformation that has been circulated or forwarded through misleading accounts and accounts that have been operated by Pakistan. Right from in the morning, there was some alert right in the Bardmer and Jaisalmer. Later, there was a red alert as well in the Bardmer and Jaisalmer. But soon after, the Western Command took the charge and BSF is taking the charge, as well as the local administration is doing the combat patrolling over the villages, over the outskirts and over the city area in the Jaisalmer, in the Bardmer and in the Bikaner. The situation got normal, and currently the situation is quite normal. The market has been shut down. After some time, the blackout will be observed in the districts, and no to and fro of the two-wheelers and four-wheeler will be there in the border districts.
Just to amplify the point being made there by Laksha in Jaisalmer, we can't emphasize this enough, viewers. Please don't fall victim or prey to Pakistani lies, fake news or propaganda. Stay tuned to DD India for authentic and authoritative information related to Operation Sindoor. Don't attend to unwanted phone calls, SMSs or WhatsApp messages either. Well, let me now go across to Gurmeet Singh, who is standing by in Amritsar. Gurmeet, what's the situation like in Amritsar and the rest of Punjab as well?
Ramesh, first of all, I would like to tell you that we are reporting from Rajatal village, which is adjacent to the international boundary that India shares with Pakistan. And right now where I am standing, it is just 500 to 600 meters away from the international boundary. But before I show you the visuals of this village, what is happening here right now, I would like to show you, tell you the latest developments that has been taking place today in Punjab. First of all, I'd like to tell you about Pathankot, Jalandhar and Hoshiarpur, because in the earlier day the press conference was done by the government of India, the foreign secretary itself, and in that press conference it was told that Pakistan has started targeting the civilian areas. So at this point in time, right now, that the inputs we are getting, that the civilian areas have been targeted through the drone attacks of the Pakistan, and these targets have been foiled by the air defense system of India. The very first target that I am going to discuss here is of Pathankot Damtal area, which is near the Himachal Pradesh and Pathankot border. So there also a drone attack was done by the Pakistan, which was foiled by Indian defense system, air defense system. Second, that you have already discussed, is Jalandhar Isawal village, where another drone attack was made, but it was again neutralized by the Indian defense system. And third one is Hoshiarpur's Sikri village, where another drone attack was done carrying heavy payloads, but it was also repulsed by the Indian air defense system. So right now the whole scenario that we are seeing in Punjab is of the misinformation that you were already discussing. But first of all, that we want to tell our viewers that in earlier day in the press conference it was claimed that there is little damage to the equipment and personnel at Bathinda Air Base and Pathankot Air Base Station. But the level of misinformation you can calculate from here, that the social media is abundant with lot of the messages and lot of the people sharing that the Bathinda Airbase station has been completely destroyed. So this was verified by the PIB fact check unit of the government of India, and after that the real fact that came out is that it is fully operational. So like this, there are various other misinformations which are being shared on social media, and it is being told by the sources that this whole bunch of the misinformation that is being spread on the social media is coming from Pakistan, and they have set up a social media unit which is running such malicious campaigns at this point in time. And especially if I would like to discuss about the trains, the train movement has also been affected in Punjab, specifically in Amritsar. The few trains like Jan Shatabdi, Lal Kuan Express, Garib Rath, and various other trains like Nangal Dam Express, they have been cancelled. Various other trains have been short terminated and diverted. But at this point in time, the latest that we are getting is about the misinformation that has been spread by few people. So local administration is appealing people not to believe on the misinformation that is being spread on the social media, and the local administration is appealing people to only believe on the verified information given by the official sources.
Indeed.
So right now I would like to show you the visuals of this village, which is like I am just standing 500 meters away, so you can understand, because due to the security reasons I cannot show you the international border at this point in time. But first of all, right behind me are few people of the village who are sitting here discussing a lot of the issues. But and right there are the fields of this village. Farmers are working since morning till evening, and they are following the same schedule that they were earlier following otherwise, you know, before the escalation between India and Pakistan. And the third visual that I would like to show you, the road that is connecting to all the border villages over here, starting from Atari to Mahwa to Rajatal village, then Burj, then Dauke, and various other villages and so on. So this road is connecting to all the border villages, and just behind that is international border that is quite visible from this road. And we, being the national broadcaster, due to the security reasons, are not going to show you, but this road is quite operational and people are commuting here since morning without any fear. So at this point in time, the latest that is going on is that the district administration of Amritsar has appealed to the people of the border villages that there would be blackout after 6:30 in the evening, and in the city of Amritsar there would be blackout at 8:30 till further orders. But there's no need to panic, and the people have been appealed to stay indoors, no need to come out. And at the same time, if anybody has been planning traveling to some other place, so they have been appealed not to travel at this point in time. But in addition to this, the administration has also told that there is no need to panic, and the Indian Air Force and the Indian forces are there to protect everyone. Air defense system is working, and the very first day when there was escalation, the news came, and on the border areas there was a few people who were under the state of panic, but later on when they came to know about the air defense system, so there is no panic among the people in the border areas. Earlier on social media handles there were claims that people on the border areas, they are moving towards the safer places. But here we have talked to several people in this village, which is a border village. They are saying that they do not want to move to any other place. They are in high spirits and they do not have any fear in their mind.
Right, Gurmeet, thank you for that detailed input there. And as Gurmeet was pointing out, there is no reason to panic at all. Situation is under control in the border areas in Punjab in particular. We'll come back to you in just a bit if time permits, Gurmeet, but let me go across back to my colleague Lakshya in Jaisalmer. Lakshya, we are told we have an update for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. As well said by with my friend regarding the misinformation. I want to tell you very important that in the morning, red alert was imposed in the Badmer and high alert was imposed over the Jaisalmer. Regarding that, the official information was shared. The DM of the Badmer Tina Rabi officially tweeted regarding this to be inside in your houses, and a red alert has been will be observed in the district. But even after that, what is important to know right on this point, that even when the situation got normal in the Badmer, in the Jaisalmer, after some time, after 1 hour and a half an hour, the things we got very normal in the Jaisalmer and the Badmer, and also the administration informed the resident and informed officially that things are very normal, but you are advised to keep inside your houses and market are shut down. But even after that point of time, the fake news, the regular fake news and regular misinformation was circulated. So there was a flood of misinformation over the social media that the Jaisalmer is still under the high alert. Jaisalmer is receiving this type of attack. Jaisalmer is receiving this type of shelling. Badmer is under red alert, even though the red alert was taken off. So that's a very important point to notice for the viewers, for us, and as a public broadcaster, that even after when the alert has been removed off by the local administration and by the administration, these notorious people and these notorious accounts try to panic the people. They try to misinform the people again and again just to combat, because right now the India is combating dual ways. Right? India is combating right on the borders and right with the misinformation. The Pakistan is not able to to win over the borders and trying again to make the people misinformed, to make the people panic. But what is amazing right here is the people are well informed, and people are, as I am on the ground, as I am on the these border districts from last 3 to 4 days. So what I am observing, what I am experiencing right here, the people are with the administration and they totally rely on the verified sources, and they are they very trust the people. They are trusting, showing trust to the people, to the administration.
All right, let me thank both my colleagues Lakshya Arya in Jaisalmer and Gurmeet Singh in Amritsar for joining us with their inputs about Operation Sindoor. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Meanwhile, in view of the prevailing situation, the Punjab government announced the closure of all universities and colleges in the state. Punjab's Education Minister Harjot Singh Bains said that all universities and colleges in the state must prioritize the safety of students. The government says that no student should be forced to leave the campus if unable or unwilling because of safety considerations, transport or personal reasons. Institutions are instructed to ensure food, shelter and care for all students until the last one remains on campus. Examinations must not be used to pressure students to stay, and no academic penalties will apply to those choosing to return home. Universities must offer rescheduling or alternative arrangements. And moving on to Gujarat, where Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel has reviewed security measures undertaken by the administration in the border districts of Gujarat from the State Emergency Operations Centre in Gandhinagar. He gathered comprehensive updates on the measures being implemented by the state administration in collaboration with central agencies to ensure citizens' safety, including supply of essential goods, transportation and communication facilities. The Chief Minister issued key directives to strengthen the administration's readiness to handle any potential emergencies. Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta today chaired a high-level review meeting with departmental heads of departments at the Secretariat to assess the city's emergency preparedness. The meeting emphasized health preparedness, directing hospitals to be ready, ensure ambulance availability, stock essential medicines, secure ICU power backup and cancel staff leave for duty planning. The Revenue Department was tasked with activating disaster management, identifying shelters, sensitizing civil defense volunteers and coordinating with key agencies. The power department was instructed to ensure backup electricity, while the home and police departments were tasked with securing water and power supplies. The PWD, the MCD and the NDMC were all directed to keep contractors and machinery ready. The DTC and the DMRC were asked to prepare evacuation route maps and fleet management plans. The fire department was also advised to stay on high alert. Now, in this age and time, enemies outside and their proxies have resorted to spreading fake news constantly to disrupt the collectiveness and to bring down the morale of India's people. For the last 3 days, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has been continuously posting and refuting them, aiming to crush the fake news that is being disseminated. Now, a doctored video showing India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar apologizing is circulating online. The video is AI generated and part of Pakistan's false propaganda. Another video of an IAF plane crash is being falsely shared in the context of the current India-Pakistan situation. This video shows a Jaguar aircraft of the IAF that crashed in Ambala during a routine training sortie in March 2025. Another video falsely claiming that Pakistan has destroyed an Indian S-400 air defense system is in circulation. The Press Information Bureau's fact-check team confirmed that the post is a fake. Reports of destruction or any damage to an S-400 system is baseless. And the Press Information Bureau's fact-check unit debunked a misinformation circulating on social media, falsely claiming that the Udhampur airbase has been destroyed. A video aired by AIK News on live TV claimed that Pakistan had destroyed the Udhampur airbase. Actually, the video, which shows a fire incident at a chemical factory in Hanumangarh, Rajasthan, is not related to the current India-Pakistan situation. And the Press Information Bureau's fact-check unit has also warned that social media feeds are at risk of being targeted. They advised caution regarding suspicious videos related to the Indian Armed Forces or the ongoing situation, as these could be tools for malicious manipulation. They urged users not to fall or spread for such content. Meanwhile, an old video is being falsely shared on social media as footage of a missile strike on New Delhi airport. This video shows a gas station explosion in Aden, Yemen from August 2024. It has no connection to the current India-Pakistan situation. And taking to X, Delhi airport also refuted such claims. It said, and I quote it here, "We express our strong disapproval on such irresponsible and provocative content. It is advisable to refrain from spreading false information. Passengers and public are advised to rely only on verified official sources for accurate updates," unquote. And the Airports Authority of India, or the AAI, along with relevant aviation authorities, has issued a series of notices to airmen or NOTAMs announcing the temporary closure of 32 airports across northern and western India for all civil flight operations. The closure, effective until May 15, is because of operational reasons. The affected airports include key air bases such as Adampur, Bhuj, Amritsar, Srinagar, Uttarlai and Jammu. Most of these airports are located in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Punjab and the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. And a significant move to boost security across Indian civil airports, the Director General of the Bureau of Civil Aviation Security has issued an official memorandum temporarily extending the role of the Central Industrial Security Force as the Aviation Security Group to provide additional security cover to cargo operations and the inline hold baggage screening system. Responding immediately, the CISF has resumed oversight over cargo and baggage operations. The directives also authorize CISF personnel to perform random checks and oversee access control to these critical facilities. The decision aims to introduce a crucial secondary layer of security checks to enhance aviation security. Meanwhile, Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport has resumed normal operations and issued a fresh advisory for passengers amid heightened security measures. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation, or DGCA, on Saturday issued an advisory to airlines on providing proper communication and in-flight catering services to passengers, as international flights are having longer flying times because of the Pakistani airspace closure. Passengers are advised to stay updated through their respective airlines, follow all hand baggage and check-in luggage rules, and arrive early to allow extra time for security checks. Authorities also urge travelers to cooperate with airline and security staff for smooth travel experience. There are significant rerouting of international and regional flights, increased block times compared to scheduled durations, and possibility of technical halts en route for operational or fuel requirements. Right, let's go to an MEA briefing in New Delhi now.
I have a very brief statement to make. Following that, as you know, there will be a briefing by my colleagues from the military. The Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director General of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours earlier this afternoon. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding. The Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours. Thank you.
Right, so the Foreign Secretary briefing media persons in New Delhi that the Directors General of Military Operations of India and Pakistan have spoken to each other and have agreed to a ceasefire and to halt all military operations on both sides. We'll get you more on this breaking news on DD India in just a bit, with all our reporters on the ground covering every facet, every aspect of Operation Sindoor. Remember, India launched Operation Sindoor on the 7th of May in response to the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack. On 7th of May, India targeted 9 areas in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, targeting the terrorist infrastructure present there. Meanwhile, this is the breaking news here on DD India. India and Pakistan agree to a ceasefire with immediate effect. This is news just coming in. The Indian government announces ceasefire deal between the two countries. Right, so let's get you some details as we get more details on this breaking news. Sources telling us that the stoppage of firing and military action between India and Pakistan was worked out directly between the two countries. The Pakistani DGMO initiated the call, after which discussions took place and understanding reached. There is no decision to hold talks on any other issue at any other place. This is according to sources. News just coming in. India and Pakistan have agreed to stop firing and military action and worked out directly between the DGMOs of the two militaries. India and Pakistan agreed to a ceasefire with immediate effect. Right, so this is news just breaking here on DD India. The Directors General of Military Operation of both India and Pakistan talking to each other just a short while ago, and both sides agreeing to a ceasefire after nearly 4 days of hostilities. India and Pakistan agreeing to a ceasefire with immediate effect. This after the military officials of both countries had a call this afternoon local time, and both sides agreeing to end military operations. We'll get you more on this Right. Joining me on the phone line is my colleague Jessica. Jessica, tell us more about this latest news coming in. Right, we'll try to connect with my colleague Jessica Taneja, who was covering that press conference at the MEA headquarters in New Delhi. Jessica, if you're with us, tell us more about the briefing by the Foreign Secretary. Right, we'll try to connect with Jessica in just a bit, but this is news breaking here on DD India. India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire. The decision was announced by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri in New Delhi just a short while ago after the DGMOs of both countries held a call this afternoon local time agreeing to stop all hostilities with immediate effect. This is news just breaking here on DD India. The DGMOs speaking to each other and agreeing to a ceasefire with immediate effect. Remember, this is day 5 of Operation Sindoor, and the officials have agreed to a ceasefire between the two countries. The announcement made by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri just a short while ago. We'll try to connect with our reporters on the ground to bring you more details of this announcement. In the meantime, let me recap the developments for you. India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire to stop all military action in land, air and sea. This follows a phone call between the military officials of both countries a short while ago. Both sides agreeing to ceasefire and that the stoppage of firing and military action has been agreed upon. And this was worked out directly between the two countries. The Pakistani DGMO initiated the call, after which discussions took place and an understanding reached. Indian sources telling us that there is no decision to hold talks on any other issue at any other place. Also, we are told we are standing by for another briefing, another press conference very shortly in New Delhi by officials from the Ministries of External Affairs and Defence. We'll get you that live when it takes place. But this is news breaking here on DD India, your one-stop destination for all the authentic and authoritative news related to Operation Sindoor. India and Pakistan agreeing to a ceasefire following a phone conversation between the DGMOs of both countries. And this was directed between the two countries. All right, joining me is my colleague Amrit Pal Singh. Amrit, fill us in on the details, please.
Ramesh, could you repeat your question?
Amrit, talk to us about this important announcement of the Foreign Secretary about the ceasefire.
All right, the Foreign Secretary just made an announcement saying that there has been a ceasefire and stoppage of all military operations and firings by both sides, both in land, air and sea. So basically, the conflict has come to an end. This began with the initiation of a call by the Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan to his counterpart in India, the DGMO in India. India, in line with its stated stand that India has been only taking retaliatory action in response to what Pakistan was doing. On the 7th of May, the strikes were against terrorist targets. It was taken care that no military installations or economic installations or civilian population was hit. India said that Pakistan responded by hitting military installations and civilian areas in India. India responded in the same domain and with the same intensity, and had always said that we do not want to take it up the escalatory ladder. So today, when the DGMO of Pakistan called the DGMO of India, Indian Army was open to it and said that we are ready to stop all operations because this is in response to what you have been doing. If you wish to stop it, we do not have any interest in taking it up the escalatory ladder. So clearly this was worked out between the two sides without any involvement of any third party, despite international claims being made. So the two sides talked to each other and bilaterally in a call initiated by Pakistan, saying that they want to stop the conflict. India agreed to it, and now all military action in land, air and sea has come to a halt. Ramesh.
Indeed, Amrit, stay on. Let me break it down for our viewers joining us on this broadcast. They may be anywhere in the world as we speak, but this is news breaking here on DD India this hour. India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire. This is day 4 since Operation Sindoor was launched by India in retaliation to the Pahalgam terror attack. And news just breaking here, as announced by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri in New Delhi a short while ago, both sides agreeing to a ceasefire. Sources telling us the stoppage of firing and military action between India and Pakistan was worked out directly between the two countries. The Pakistani DGMO initiated the call this afternoon local time, after which discussions took place and an understanding reached. There is no decision at this point in time to hold talks on any other issue. This is on sources, but the announcement was made officially by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri a short while ago. India and Pakistan announcing and agreeing to a ceasefire after days of hostilities marked by actions across the LOC as well as the international boundary between the two countries. But this is news we are tracking here very closely on DD India News Hour. Going back to my colleague Amrit one more time in this broadcast. Amrit, put it in the context for our viewers. It's taken us almost 4 days for Pakistan to make better sense prevail in GHQ there. They are relenting and agreeing to a ceasefire because of the costs imposed on them by the Indian Armed Forces.
Okay, let me put this whole thing in perspective right from the beginning. The Pahalgam attack took place, as you know, last month. Innocent tourists were killed in a communal carnage that took place.
Hold on, we'll play out those sound bites again of the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. Take a look.
I have a very brief statement to make. Following that, as you know, there will be a briefing by my colleagues from the military. The Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director General of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours earlier this afternoon. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding. The Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours.
All right, joining us is former Indian Ambassador Javed Ashraf. Ambassador Ashraf, welcome to this broadcast. News just coming in of India and Pakistan agreeing to a ceasefire. Has General Asim Munir in GHQ Pindi allowed better sense to prevail?
Well, I think that's really good news because war is not something that is good for anyone. I mean, it involves great loss of life, property, as well as extracts a big economic cost too. I think that, over the past 3 days, you've seen, let's be very clear that what we did on the night of May 6th and 7th was something that was entirely in accordance with our right to defend and the right to respond. And we were very particular about the targets we had chosen. We had completely made sure that there were no civilian or military collateral damage in Pakistan. After that, Pakistan actually retaliated through targeting military and civilian sites across the entire Western Front in India. Therefore, it was really an act of war that they had declared. Over the past 3 days, they had escalated. We had, and it's important to emphasize, responded in a measured and responsible manner to each day of escalation that they had pursued. And I think at some point, the international community had begun to take note of a certain level of recklessness and cavalier approach on the part of Pakistan. And they somehow seem to be determined to continue to escalate it for objectives that are best known to them, because they would not have had the staying power or the capacity to, overcome India's ability to maintain the escalation dominance at every stage. So I think at some point better sense prevailed. They were rewarded with, in a sense, $2.4 billion of IMF assistance through the EFF and through the RSF, two different instruments of funding. And I think that would have also helped in bringing pressure on Pakistan to stop these attacks using missiles and drones and then intense LOC firing. And so we have actually had said right after May 6 and 7, if you recall, that we have achieved our objectives and we have no intentions to escalate the situation any further, but that we are prepared to respond if Pakistan chooses to retaliate using military means. So I think this is really a reflection of the international concern that has been growing and alarm actually at the way Pakistan has been escalating it over the past 3 days.
Indeed. So just to recap for the benefit of our viewers, Ambassador Ashraf, the ceasefire came into effect about an hour and 10 minutes ago, 1700 hours local time. And just to, for the benefit of viewers again, Ambassador, if you could pass the text of the statement put out by sources so that they have a better appreciation of the issues at hand here. One thing that comes to my mind is that this was worked out directly between the two countries, number one. Number two, this was initiated by the Pakistani DGMO. Number three, discussions took place and an understanding reached. And last but not the least, there is no decision, we are told, to hold talks on any other issue at any other place. Your thoughts, Ambassador Ashraf?
No, absolutely. This is natural. It had to come from Pakistan, because, you know, they were the aggressor. First, when you saw the attack, the most brutal, barbaric attack in Pahalgam, and then the escalation which started the intervening night of the 7th and the 8th. So it had to come from them. I mean, this is something which they had initiated and they had to take that responsibility, and recognizing that the pressure was only going to mount from them on them militarily. That's point one. Point two is that, look, whatever anyone else does, it is finally about two countries agreeing to do something. So, you know, there are others who may have had a role in terms of making calls, etc. But that is not the basis of this decision. The basis of the decision is very clear, that it was initiated by Pakistan desiring to seek a ceasefire, and then we, of course, as I said earlier, had achieved our objectives and had no intentions of escalating it. And then the third is a very important point, that this is not to be rewarded by a discussion on all kinds of issues that Pakistan wants to discuss. This is really about the one issue that, you know, we are most concerned about at this point of time, and which is the constant barrage and campaign of terrorism emanating from Pakistan.
Ambassador, when the dust settles, do you think the Pakistani
Sorry,
army...
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Ambassador?
No.
Right, we'll try to fix that link with Ambassador Ashraf in just a bit. But in the meantime, let me recap the big news we are tracking here on DD India News Hour as we speak.
Right, yeah. Now I can hear you.
All right, Ambassador Ashraf, if you can hear me, I meant to ask you. Right, we'll come to you in just a bit, Ambassador. Let me go across to my colleague Nandita Dagar. Nandita, fill us in on the latest, please.
Yes, following the talks between the Director General of Military Operations of both the countries, India and Pakistan, an agreement has been reached that the hostilities will come to an end. The conflict that has been raging for the past 4 days will come to an end. That means all aerial drones, projectiles that Pakistan has, and heavy mortar shelling that Pakistan has been resorting to and India has been responding to with proportionate measure, and using targeting civilian infrastructure also, medical infrastructure also, all of that will come to an end. And therefore, the impact of that, the ramifications of this news is, Ramesh, that from the LOC, from Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri, Mendar, Samba, Kathua, the border frontier, the frontier state of Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat, people will heave a sigh of relief. People living in the border villages, people living near Air Force bases, because they were being targeted with projectiles, unmanned aerial vehicles, kamikaze drones, and of course, this barrage of misinformation through fake Twitter handles and false information being propagated on the Pakistani websites, etc. That will come to an end. So the country, the people of this country will now be, of course, they were having a very peaceful sleep because the men and the soldiers, the sailors, the airmen were behind the air defense systems, the army air defense guns, all of that was there. But yes, these hostilities in the air and on the ground, they have come to an end at 5 p.m. today, India Standard Time. And what my sources tell me is that the Pakistani DGMO was trying to speak to the Indian DGMO too for the past 2 days. But considering Pakistan's cowardly act and heinous acts and actually provocative and escalatory acts of targeting military installations, hospitals in Avantipura and Srinagar, convents and churches in Poonch, gurdwaras in Rajouri, this India actually had set a red line. If you remember, Ramesh, at around 3:30 p.m. today, Indian Standard Time, this news broke from our Prime Minister's office sources that India will consider another violation of the ceasefire by Pakistan in any manner targeting any of its civilian or military or technical infrastructure, an act of war. And I think that, I suppose, has done the trick, because as you know, in the past 4 days, the Pakistani munitions, their unmanned Turkish drones, Songar drones, their kamikaze drones loaded with payload, with very heavy explosives, all have been rendered useless, all have been rendered futile. They have been detected, tracked and engaged in the air. So Pakistan obviously saw this as a losing battle all the way, and that is why this agreement has been reached.
General Asim Munir seems to have learnt a lesson. He realized his mistake and that he probably chose to bite off more than he can chew. If I can go back to my colleague in the meantime. And before that, here is Minister Jaishankar's message on social media platform X. He says, and I quote, "India and Pakistan have today worked out an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so," unquote. Let me repeat. India and Pakistan, he says, have today worked out an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so, unquote. Minister Jaishankar making it official that both sides have agreed to stop all hostilities for now, and India reiterating its principled stand on terrorism, saying zero tolerance to terrorism, and that it will continue to maintain that policy going forward as well. Right, if I can get a opinion in from our guest, Ambassador Javed Ashraf. Ambassador Ashraf, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Minister Jaishankar has just made it official on social media platform X. If I can just repeat again for your benefit and that of our viewers, he says, and I'm quoting him here, "India and Pakistan have today worked out an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so," unquote. Your thoughts, Ambassador Ashraf?
No, I think there's a very clear and absolutely resolute enunciation of our position on terrorism. What we are saying is that we were attacked, we responded, we had the capacity to stay the course. I have said that before. Everyone knows that given Pakistan's fragile economy, its current state of the industry, its political instability, there was no way it could have continued with the military action for too long. There would have been a point where, as I've said, we would have at every stage been able to more than match what they were doing, that escalation dominance, and if it had reached a stage where it would have been ground offensive or naval operations, the asymmetry would have been even stronger. So I think it was a wise decision that they had decided to reach out to the DGMO on our side and then to work out an arrangement to stop this fighting and this firing. And I think, as we have said before, that we had achieved our objective, and if they had decided to cease firing, we would obviously not continue with it. But that doesn't mean in any way that we have compromised on the clear direction and the clear line laid by the Prime Minister with regards to dealing with terrorism, and that we will continue to do so. And our conversations with going forward will be precisely this, that if we are hit, we will hit back. And that we will, our position on zero tolerance for terrorism will remain. And that and as you've just heard during the day, the Prime Minister has said that another act of terrorism would be seen as an act of war. And so that has an entirely different connotation with regard to the kind of steps that we can therefore take. So I hope that this is the beginning of a process. We've just achieved ceasefire, and I think it is a good thing because we've seen so many lives at peril. So once we move forward on this, we hope that we will continue to keep the pressure on Pakistan to ensure that there is no attack or terrorist attacks emanating from Pakistan at us, and that they eventually stop the entire infrastructure that exists over there. Also, it's a very important point that we need to make sure that this constant information, disinformation, psyops, barrage that comes out of that also needs to stop, because that has a very, very negative impact. We often think today that war is like a hybrid exercise. It is both on the field, it is also cyber, but it is also societal. And when I say societal, I mean, use of information, disinformation, and in warfare against a people. So this is also something which we've seen explode in the last 3 days from the other side. And that also needs to stop. So it has to be, we have not yet decided whether we are going to start the conversations, when we'll start it, and what will happen. But the immediate task is that they have reached out to us, let's be very clear, to stop the ongoing fighting. Our DGMO has responded. They worked out how this is to be done. This is a regular DGMO channel that exists between our two countries, and that we will continue to watch the situation very, very carefully.
Indeed, and
this does not mean, by the way,
yeah,
that we are in a sense of not in a state of alert. We will remain alert and we will remain prepared. It is just that there is this, what we in military operations have ceased.
Indeed. Ambassador Ashraf, do stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. Let me go back to my colleague Nandita, who is joining us from New Delhi. Nandita, we are told that the DGMOs will speak again on the 12th of May. Is that correct? Is that an update that you have?
Yes, both the Director Generals of Military Operations will speak on the 12th of May at 12 noon. That is what we have come to know. I suppose the mantra now is distrust and verify, because we cannot trust Pakistan. Obviously, our military assets, our air defense guns, our surface-to-air missile systems, our posts on the LOC and our BSF posts on the international border, the men behind the machines, all will be staying alert and vigilant, just as they were. And Prime Minister Modi's, Prime Minister of the PMO's warning coming just before this announcement. You see, our sources from the PMO saying that any other escalation, because as our wing commander Vyomika Singh and Colonel Sofia Qureshi had pointed out, that India never escalated it. In fact, the 5 targets of the air bases that they listed today in today's morning's foreign ministry and defense ministry briefing, Ramesh, they said they were targeted with precision munitions from warplanes, and their airspace was also not violated. So, and whereas Pakistan has been, India has proven to be a highly superior country as far as morality is concerned. We have a moral superiority over Pakistan, which is a rogue state, has resorted to cowardly, heinous, barbaric acts, and it has got down on its knees, and we have seen its Turkish drones, its Chinese air defense systems, all of them biting the dust, literally and metaphorically, in the face of our combined grid of air defense system, right from the S-400 and the S-400 missile systems. And you have Ambassador Javed Ashraf with you, who's been our ambassador to France, and he can very well tell you how the scalp and hammer missiles on the Rafales have proven to be such a game changer. I'm using a much abused word, game changer, but it certainly is a platform with a very high capability. And on the 7th of May, when we targeted these terrorist training outfits, these 9 places in Pakistan, including Bahawalpur and Murid Ke, etc., where Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba terrorists were killed, how these Rafales and these scalp and hammer missiles of the Rafales came into good use, Ambassador Javed Ashraf would be able to tell you. So just in a nutshell, I would tell you that on every front, Pakistan has found itself to be undermined by India. It actually underestimated India, and India has outgunned it, outsmarted it in its its information, misinformation, psychological operations, because India, with its all its government machinery, the Twitter handles of all our government websites and our ministries, departments, our information and broadcasting ministry, our public broadcaster, including DD News and DD India, our press information bureau, they have been carrying out continuous fact check of these hoaxes that Pakistan has been floating, that S-400 was destroyed at Adhampur, etc. I'm sure you can ask Ambassador Javed Ashraf, who is very well versed in these diplomacy and international relations, more about this. But this is what I had to say. Ramesh?
Indeed, let me go across to Ambassador Ashraf. Ambassador Ashraf, clearly it appears that better sense has prevailed in GHQ Rawalpindi, especially Pakistani Army Chief General Asim Munir. But to be honest, Ambassador Ashraf, don't you think he could have done it 4 days ago? Why did he have to provoke, threaten and attack India? He could have very well agreed to a ceasefire or agreed to not escalate tensions on the 7th of May when India launched Operation Sindoor in retaliation to the Pahalgam attacks. Why did he have to waste precious lives, innocent lives in all these 4 days?
Well, I think that,
you think he realized a mistake, that he's committed a mistake by needlessly provoking and antagonizing India?
No, well, first of all, I think that, they were probably surprised by the scale of our attack on the night of the 6th and the 7th, the depth of our penetration, the precision of our strikes, and the kind of targets that we were able to reach. Please remember that Murid Ke and Bahawalpur are the main nurseries of terrorism in Pakistan, and that for 3-4 decades we have been bringing it to the attention of the international community, and have been repeatedly telling Pakistan also that these 2 centers, like others, and particularly these 2, need to be shut down. Now, that would have actually, these are also Pakistan's pride. Even when the US was trying to put pressure on Pakistan to dismantle these 2 places, which were the headquarters of LET and Jaish-e-Mohammed, they protected it, even when they were trying to link this to the assistance to Pakistan. So our ability to reach them, they probably were surprised. Now it became a question of the credibility of Pakistan's army vis-a-vis its own population, but even more with the terrorist groups that saw Pakistan military as a shield of security. That security was destroyed. And there were the credibility of Pakistan military in its own constituency was absolutely demolished. So it had to, in some sense, fire back. Now, what they were looking for, the way I see this, is they were obviously aware that we would be prepared for their retaliation. There's no way India would have gone in for those strikes on the terrorist infrastructure without also recognizing that Pakistan would probably retaliate, and therefore we had to be prepared. And they were hoping perhaps that they would penetrate this wall of air defense against us and maybe reach one or two major targets for their own domestic audience. And I think over the last 3 nights, they have successfully intensified, successively intensified the level of attacks. And each time, I mean, there have been one or two, their missiles or their drones have penetrated, but we've had this impenetrable wall of air defense, which have foiled most of their attempts. Imagine if you launch 400 to 500 drones, one or two will get through, but we've successfully, in a sense, nullified their attacks. And I think at this point, they could either have intensified it further or decided that they have, well, to their own audience, perhaps proved a point or realized that they cannot sustain this anymore, and that they would perhaps face even stronger punitive retaliation from India for every level of escalation, and which is when we haven't yet used the full array of forces that we can deploy. So I think in that sense, they would have made also a calculation that this may perhaps be the time to just, this point of inflection, when you realize this is what is the path that you take? Do you escalate, or do you sort of call and say, okay, we're ready to have a ceasefire?
Indeed, Ambassador Ashraf, while we are standing by for another
press conference. And I wanted
to
just mention that,
sure,
what your correspondent was saying.
Sure.
I mean, these are weapons of extraordinary ability. I mean, hammer bomb can be launched below a radar because it got the capacity to climb on its own, and it can climb up to several thousand meters. And it has 3 guidance systems, and it's a very, very precise instrument. And so, and just a scalp is. And so I think, when you look back to 2019 or before, our firepower, both in terms of offensive capabilities, but also in terms of our air defense with S-400 and our own Akash and others, have improved a lot. I mean, this 5-6 year period when perhaps we have invested a lot both in modern technology and recognizing the nature of modern warfare. We've also drawn our lessons from the Ukraine conflict and the conflict in the Middle East. And I think it showed in the manner in which our armed forces responded over the past 3 days.
Indeed. Ambassador Ashraf, while we are standing by for another press conference here in New Delhi to detail the agreement reached between both sides, I want to ask you, you think General Asim Munir's continuance in office has become untenable, that his future might be in doubt because of the balance of power might have been affected and the army might emerge weaker from this crisis?
Well, I think it is too early to say that. There will be a lot of introspection, and within the Pakistan military, there will also be a lot of questions.
Do you rule out a coup against him for that matter?
I think, we should hold at,
sure,
views at the moment. I think it is important to be
fair enough,
careful. And also in a way that I would say that the way we approach the next few days should be measured and responsible in our utterances, in our statement. We've achieved our objectives. And what happens, there will be a lot of introspection within the Pakistan military and within the Pakistan society about the consequences of their misadventure. There would certainly be pressure on General Asif Munir, but the internal dynamics of the Pakistan military is very difficult for me to judge. And I think it is something that we will be watching very closely in the coming days. But at this point, I think we should hold our
Indeed, and while we are, again, as I mentioned, we are standing by for a briefing here in New Delhi on the details of the agreement reached between India and Pakistan. We'll get you that live in just a moment when it begins in New Delhi. My guest, Ambassador Ashraf, is still with us. Ambassador Ashraf, looking at from an Indian perspective now, where do you think both countries? Let's go across the MEA briefing now.
Before we start, yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this press briefing on Operation Sindoor and related developments. We have with us Commodore Ravi Nair, Colonel Sophia Qureshi, and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh to brief you. With that, I hand over the floor to Commodore Nair.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As the Foreign Secretary had said, you're aware there's an understanding that has been reached to stop all military activities at sea, on the air and on the land. And the Indian Navy, Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have been instructed to adhere to this understanding. Since the tragic events at Pahalgam, you're aware that our responses have been measured and very responsible. Details of these have been shared with you over the past few days through our various press briefings. What has also happened is that there is a significant amount of misinformation that is being undertaken from the other side. And as a professional military organization, we thought it is also our duty to dispel those misinformation aspects, as also state the facts of the case as they stand. Towards that, I will now hand over to my colleague, Colonel Qureshi.
नमस्कार। अब मैं आपको पाकिस्तान की मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन के बारे में अवगत कराऊंगी। पहला, पाकिस्तान ने यह क्लेम किया कि उसने अपने JF-17 से हमारे S-400 व ब्रह्मोस मिसाइल बेस को नुकसान पहुंचाया, जो कि बिल्कुल गलत है। दूसरा, उसका यह भी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन था कि हमारी एयरफील्ड्स जो कि सिरसा, जम्मू, पठानकोट, बठिंडा, नलिया और भुज में है, ये उसका मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन भी बहुत गलत है। तीसरा, पाकिस्तान के मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन कैंपेन के मुताबिक हमारे एम्यूनिशन डम्प्स जो चंडीगढ़ और बियास में है उसका डैमेज हुआ, यह भी बिल्कुल गलत है। हमने आपको मॉर्निंग ब्रीफिंग में बताया था विद फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर के साथ कि ये सारी चीजें बिल्कुल सही सलामत हैं। अब मैं आपको बताना चाहती हूं कि पाकिस्तान के एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में ये बात की गई थी कि उनके सीनियर मिलिट्री ऑफिसर्स जो कि पूरी तरह से ये भ्रामक हैं और तथ्यों से दूर हैं कि पाकिस्तान की ओर से ये झूठा आरोप भी लगाया जा रहा है कि भारतीय सेना ने मस्जिदों को नुकसान पहुंचाया। मैं इससे बिल्कुल स्पष्ट करना चाहती हूं कि इंडिया इज ए सेक्युलर नेशन और हमारी सेना भारत के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज की एक बहुत प्यारी झलक है। इंडियन आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान को बहुत भारी नुकसान पहुंचाया, उनके मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स को, चाहे वो लैंड एसेट्स हो या फिर उनके एयर एसेट्स। यही नहीं, इंडियन आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ने पाकिस्तान की एयरफील्ड्स स्कर्दू, जकोबाबाद, सरगोदा और बुलारी को बहुत नुकसान पहुंचाया। इसके अलावा पाकिस्तान के एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम, रडार सिस्टम, उनको भी एयर स्पेस में अनटेनेबल किया। यह भी बताना चाहती हूं कि लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पास पाकिस्तान के कमांड एंड कंट्रोल लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस और उनके मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स, मिलिट्री पर्सनल्स का इतना भारी नुकसान हुआ कि पाकिस्तान की ऑफेंसिव व डिफेंसिव कैपेबिलिटी को नष्ट कर दिया गया। अंत में मैं फिर से ये बात दोहराना चाहूंगी, इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस पूरी तरह से तैयार है, सतर्क है और भारत की संप्रभुता और अखंडता की रक्षा के लिए पूरी तरह से कमिटेड है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
So several attempts were made by Pakistan on spreading a misinformation campaign, as we have seen for the last few days. There were attempts made to say that our S-400 at a northern base was destroyed, which was completely false, and that it was destroyed by a JF-17, it was a false information. Also that the BrahMos installation was attacked and it was destroyed was false. The destruction of airfields at Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Bhuj, Nalia, etc. was also a false claim. The forward ammunition dump at Chandigarh and Beas are also fit and fine, and we showed you these in the photographs in the morning briefing today. Also, there was a certain different way of miscampaign that the Pakistan conducted by its press conferences, which was conducted in a manner which was completely misleading and devoid of facts. Pakistan has been spreading fabricated allegations that the Indian armed forces have targeted mosques. Let us make this very clear here that India is a secular nation and the Indian armed forces are a reflection of our constitutional values. We hold every place of worship of all faiths in the highest regard. Our operations have been aimed exclusively at terrorist camps and facilities being used for anti-India activities. No religious sites, I repeat, no religious sites have been targeted by the Indian Armed Forces. Over the past few days, as we have seen, Pakistan has suffered very heavy and unsustainable losses after it has given us an unprovoked attack on our installations. It has suffered losses in both land and air. There has been an extensive damage to the crucial Pakistani air bases like Skardu, Sargodha, Jacobabad and Bholari. In addition, a loss of AD weapon system and radars made the defense of Pakistani airspace untenable. Across the line of control, extensive and precise damage to military infrastructure and command control centers and logistic installations. In addition to that, 2 military personnel had led to complete breakdown of its defensive and offensive capability and also Pakistani morale.
In conclusion, let me reiterate that whilst we will be adhering to the understanding that has been reached today, that is the Indian Army, the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force, we remain fully prepared and ever vigilant and committed to defending the sovereignty and integrity of the motherland. Every misadventure by Pakistan has been met with strength and every future escalation will invite a decisive response. We remain fully operationally ready to launch whatever operations may be required in defense of the nation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. With that, we come to the closure of this briefing. Thank you very much. Chali.
All right, you were just listening to a press conference here in New Delhi addressed by the officers from the Indian Army, Navy and the Air Force at the MEA headquarters in the capital city. Just to recap the news that we are tracking here on DD India, India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire with immediate effect. The ceasefire came into effect from 1700 hours local time, that is about 1 hour and 40 minutes back. Both sides agreeing to stop all hostilities. Now, this followed a phone call from the Pakistani side to the Indian DGMO. Talks took place and both sides reached an understanding. India saying while it agrees to a ceasefire, it will remain vigilant and take punitive measures against any provocation going forward, including considering or treating any future acts of terror as an act of war against India and respond accordingly, giving a befitting response to Pakistan. We also heard from Commodore Raghu R. Nair of the Indian Navy. He says this will apply to all operations in land, air and sea. Colonel Sophia Qureshi, for her part, detailing the misinformation campaign launched by Pakistan over the last several days. The claims of damage to S-400 air defense missile system was false. The Indian air bases in Sirsa, Jammu, Pathankot, Bathinda, Nalia, Bhuj were damaged according to claims, but these were also false. And last but not the least, also false was the claims of damage to ammunition depot at several locations in India. This was also a false and fake claim, and that India in turn inflicted heavy costs, heavy penalties on Pakistan in the last 4 days since Operation Sindoor was launched. The Jacobabad Sargodha air base were completely destroyed and the air defense systems of Pakistan and radar systems were destroyed as well. And the command and control centers located near the LOC was also destroyed. So those were the remarks made by the officers addressing that press conference. I still have with us our guest, Ambassador Javed Ashraf. Ambassador Ashraf, your thoughts as the dust settles. Where do India and Pakistan go from here?
You know, if you see the past history, this usually there has been spikes in terrorist violence, and then we had maybe even a standoff. This is the first of its kind, massive scale military operations that we conducted. Usually, this is followed by a period of lull. There will be some effort on our part to continue to press them and convey to them that it is in their interest to find a way to stop terrorism, in a sense, and at least be not complicit in it, not be, in a sense, abetting it, sponsoring it, creating the infrastructure for it, and using it as an instrument of a perpetual low-cost conflict against India. That's a conversation that we will have, because we will back this conversation up with the kind of resolute action that we have shown on the ground. And this is something that they will have to factor in going forward. Remember, India has, in a sense, always advocated a relationship of peace. This Prime Minister, also Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he came to office, had a grand vision for his neighborhood, for South Asia. His first swearing in, we had invited all the leaders of South Asia. And on different occasions, he has pursued the spontaneous visit to Lahore. But that does not mean that he's prepared to go to any length to protect the country and the people. And I think it is now entirely for Pakistan also to recognize that if it wants to see a different future for the region and for itself, it needs to follow a different course going forward. And it will only be in its interest, both with regard to us, but with regard to its place in the larger community of nations. And I think that our immediate conversation would be hard, would be very clear, backed by a lot of evidence on what we have seen. And that is something we will expect them to act upon, and we'll judge them by the action that they take. But at the same time, while we are going to perhaps at some stage engage in this very specific conversation on cross-border terrorism, we will continue to maintain a high state of vigilance that we are not going to face another attack, and that our capacity to respond, first of all, to prevent or preempt an attack, and if it happens, to protect our people and then take punitive steps, will be swift and will be resolute as always. So I think it'll be a combination of being prepared, but at the same time, engaging with them to bring this to an end, this long-standing history of cross-border terrorism.
Ambassador, do you think Pakistan in general and Pakistani army in particular would have learned its lessons after this misadventure, in the sense that India will no longer take it lying down? Enough is enough. India's patience is not inexhaustible, and that the ball clearly is now in Pakistan's court. The onus is on Pakistan to behave properly going forward.
Well, I think, and I'll have to end with this because I have to go somewhere else, but I think we'll have to wait and watch. I think this is the first time they have seen the kind of action that we are prepared to take, because we have, in a sense, completely gone beyond anticipated and war-gamed responses. We have this time, as I have said before, changed the pattern of response to an attack and seized the control of the levers of post-attack developments. That means we're setting the pace of the response, and both directly and with regards to the international community. I think they will definitely factor this in their calculations, and whether this will lead to a change of heart or a change of course remains to be seen. I think we'll have to remain skeptical, watchful, alert, and remain prepared.
Fair enough. On that note, Ambassador Ashraf, may I thank you for joining us and sharing your perspective with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. I know you have prior commitments, so we'll have to let you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Right, just to recap the developments for you, I'm also joined by my colleague Nandita Dagar. We'll go to her in just a bit. But in the meantime, let me recap the developments for you viewers. India and Pakistan agreeing to a ceasefire with immediate effect. That ceasefire came into effect at 1700 hours Indian Standard Time. That is about 1 hour and 50 minutes ago. The DGMOs of two countries spoke. An understanding was reached, and India is saying that it will agree to stop all military activities on land, air and sea, but it will remain vigilant and respond in kind to any provocations going forward, including treating or considering any acts of terror going forward as an act of war against India and respond accordingly. In the meantime, we are given to understand that the DGMOs have spoken, like I mentioned before. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to the understanding, and the DGMOs will speak again on the 12th of May at noon India time. We've also heard from Foreign Minister Jaishankar. He put out a message on social media platform X, and I'm quoting his statement here. He says, India and Pakistan have today worked out an understanding on stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so, unquote. The statement there by Foreign Minister Jaishankar put out a short while ago. So the big news we are tracking here on DD India this hour is that India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire. It comes on day 4 since the launch of Operation Sindoor, India's response to the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack. On 7th of May, India launching strikes on 9 locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, targeting in particular the terrorist infrastructure there, and in the process killing and eliminating 5 terrorists, including the 2 brothers-in-law of the 2001 Parliament attack mastermind Masood Azhar. Right, let me go across to my colleague Nandita one more time on this broadcast. Nandita, fill us in on the latest that you're picking up.
Yes, we saw this briefing with the Navy's Commodore Ravi Nair, the Army's Colonel Sophia Qureshi, and the Air Force's Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. This followed by our Foreign Secretary announcing that a ceasefire agreement has been reached between the 2 Directors General of Military Operations of India and Pakistan, as hostilities have ceased since 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. It's almost 2 hours, it's going to be 2 hours. But what we came to know from this briefing, this Ministry of Defence briefing, Ramesh, is that India has negotiated this ceasefire deal from a position of strength, as these 3 military officers brought out how every claim of Pakistan destroying an S-400 battery system at Adampur is absolutely false, how BrahMos missile system being destroyed at Nagrota is again absolutely false and baseless, how India targeting its own religious institutions is again false. In fact, it was Pakistan which targeted the holy city of Amritsar and Amritsar Sahib with kamikaze biker drones, and they were intercepted by our Army air defense guns. Also, the several acts of misinformation. Yet the Defence Ministry, Commodore Ravi Nair, reiterating that despite the ceasefire, the forces will be on operational readiness as always, for any time, anywhere. India has negotiated from a moral high ground and from a position of strength, because before this announcement of a ceasefire came this information from Prime Minister's office through sources that any other escalation or provocatory measure by Pakistan would come as an act of war. India would be treating it as an act of war, and therefore these four nights, almost 3 to 4 nights of unmanned aerial vehicles, kamikaze drones with payloads of heavy explosives, missiles, mortar shells, heavy caliber artillery shells. These landing at these houses on residential areas, villages in Rajouri, Bender, Poonch, Kupwara, Baramulla, Fazilka, Gujarat, Bhuj, Nalia, all these places that will stop. And of course the DGMOs will again have talks on 12th of May. So another briefing to the briefing in the morning as DD India and DD News, which you can trust for trustworthy, verifiable, authentic information. We had broken the news through sources that there's going to be another briefing in the evening at 6 p.m. and it happened that way. Our forces also reiterating the fact that notwithstanding the ceasefire, Indian Navy, Army, Air Force, BSF, paramilitary forces, the entire nation system and machinery, even the citizens remain at high alert and vigil. Yes, the ceasefire comes as a welcome reprieve for the villages and the military installations and other places along the line of control and the international border from the frontage, where we saw more than 300 to 400 drones and projectiles being fired last night at 36 places, 26 places last night. You know, we saw a Deputy Development Commissioner of J&K losing his life in an artillery shell, and he's just one of them. Convents and churches and missionary schools being targeted with 2 children killed, hospitals in Srinagar and Avantipura. Of course, these 2 military officers dispelled these kind of rumors that...
All right, we leave it there. Nandita, thank you for that input. Nandita Dago reporting there from New Delhi. We are tracking the big news of India and Pakistan announcing a ceasefire. The ceasefire came into effect at 1700 hours India time. That's about 2 hours ago. And the DGMOs will meet again on the 12th of May at noon India time. And that's all for this edition of DD India News. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code to download it, and we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.